Welcome back to Mystery Books to Read podcast for another deep dive.
It's great to be back.
Today we're taking a look at The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins.
A modern classic.
We'll keep this spoiler-free for anyone who hasn't read it yet.
Just trying to give you a taste of why this book is so gripping.
So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
From the excerpts you've shared, it seems like the story centers around three women.
Yeah, you've got Rachel, Anna, and Megan, and each one gets to tell their side of the story.
Oh, that's interesting. I love when books do that.
Yeah, it adds so much depth and keeps you guessing the whole time.
It also seems like there's a lot of unreliability with these narrators, especially Rachel.
Oh, yeah, Rachel is our main girl on the train, and she struggles with alcohol and has blackouts.
So right off the bat, we're dealing with a character whose memory is questionable.
Exactly, and that just makes the whole mystery even more intriguing.
So can you give us a quick rundown of their lives? Like, what are these women all about?
Okay, so picture this. Rachel's going through a rough divorce and starts to obsess over this seemingly perfect couple she sees from her train window every day.
Wow. It already sounds like we're heading into some dark territory.
Oh, for sure.
And she even gives these strangers names. She calls them Jess and Jason.
Yep, she's completely fixated on them living vicariously through their lives.
That's a bit creepy.
It definitely crosses the line into voyeurism, but then things take an even darker turn when Jess, whose real name is Megan, disappears.
Oh, wow. And how does Rachel get involved?
Well, because she's been watching them so closely, she becomes entangled in the investigation.
Wait, she was making up names for these people.
Yeah, it's a sign of just how detached she is from reality, and that's what makes her such an unreliable narrator.
So we're constantly questioning what's real and what's imagined.
Precisely, and the blackouts don't help either. She constantly doubts her own memories, and we're left wondering, is she a witness or a suspect? Or maybe even both.
Okay, I'm already hooked. I love that feeling of uncertainty when you think you might have seen something but can't be sure.
Exactly. It plays on our deepest fears.
To make matters even more complicated, Rachel's ex-husband Tom is now living with Anna in the same house that Rachel used to live in with him.
Yeah, talk about an awkward situation, especially since they all live so close to each other.
That adds a whole new layer of tension to the story. So where does Anna fit into all of this?
Well, while Rachel is obsessing over this perfect couple, Anna is living with the constant fear of Rachel's watchful eye.
It's like they're both trapped in this cycle of suspicion and anxiety.
Exactly, and it makes you question who's really the victim in all of this.
And what about Megan, the missing woman? What's her deal?
From the excerpts, we get the sense that she's deeply troubled and unhappy.
Oh, so her life isn't as perfect as Rachel imagines it to be.
Not at all. We know she's seeing a therapist named Kamal, and there are hints of a possible affair.
Ooh, scandalous.
Her marriage to Scott seems picture perfect on the surface, but there are definitely cracks underneath.
It sounds like everyone in this book is hiding something.
Oh, absolutely. And Hawkins is a master at dropping these little clues that make you question everyone's motives.
Like what kind of clues?
Well, for instance, there's a moment when Rachel finds blood on herself and has no recollection of how it got there.
That's terrifying.
Right. And it makes you wonder, is it a red herring or a genuine clue?
I have to know.
That's the genius of Hawkins' writing. She keeps you guessing until the very end.
So it's not just a thrilling mystery, it's a psychological puzzle, too.
It really makes you think about the nature of memory perception and the dangers of obsession.
Wow. Okay, you've definitely sold me on this one. I can't wait to learn more.
We've only just begun to unravel this twisted tale.
So let's delve a bit deeper into the setting. Does the train itself play a significant role?
Absolutely. It's more than just a mode of transportation for Rachel. It becomes a metaphor for her journey, both literally and figuratively.
I can see that. She's physically traveling the same route every day, but she's also stuck in this cycle of obsession and unable to move on from her past.
Exactly. And the setting of suburban London adds to the feeling of unease. It's a place where secrets can easily be hidden and danger can lurk around any corner.
It sounds like the perfect backdrop for a suspenseful thriller.
And believe me, it delivers on that promise.
But I'm already feeling a sense of dread just thinking about it.
That's what makes it so compelling. Hawkins creates this atmosphere of suspense that just pulls you in.
I'm hooked. I can't wait to dive into the next set of excerpts and see how the story unfolds.
I'm ready when you are. There's so much more to uncover. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about Anna.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about her perspective.
We touched on it briefly, but I think it's worth diving deeper.
At first, I thought she was just going to be the typical other woman, the one Rachel resents because she's now with Tom.
It's easy to fall into that trap, right? But Hawkins is much smarter than that.
Yeah, she's not just a two-dimensional character.
Anna has her own fears, her own vulnerabilities. And reading her excerpts, I actually felt a lot of sympathy for her.
Me too. She's constantly living under this cloud of suspicion, knowing that Rachel is out there watching her, judging her.
It's like that feeling of being watched even in your own home. It's unsettling, to say the least.
And it makes you question who's really the victim in all of this.
Exactly. We tend to side with the protagonist, but what if the protagonist is also the antagonist in a way?
It's like Hawkins is flipping the script on us.
And remember, Rachel isn't exactly stable. She's got those blackouts and a history of erratic behavior.
So Anna's fear isn't totally unfounded.
Not at all. And to add to the complexity, she's now raising a child in the house that Rachel used to share with Tom.
Oh, wow. That just adds another layer of tension to their already strained relationship.
But here's where things get even more interesting. The excerpts hint that Anna might be hiding secrets of her own.
Ooh, secrets. What kind of secrets?
That's the beauty of Hawkins' writing. She doesn't give us all the answers right away.
It's like she's dangling a carrot in front of us.
Exactly. She drops these subtle hints, these little cracks in Anna's facade that make you question everything.
I remember one line where Anna talks about avoiding a certain spot because she doesn't want Rachel to see her.
It makes you wonder, what is she so afraid of?
It speaks volumes about the power dynamics between them. Even though Anna's the one in the stable relationship living in the house, Rachel still holds a certain power over her.
It's like Rachel is a ghost from Anna's past that she can't escape.
And this ties back to the theme of memory that we discussed earlier. Even though Rachel's memories are unreliable, they still have a huge impact on those around her.
It's like the past is constantly haunting the present.
Okay, so we've got Rachel with her fragmented memories and Anna who's haunted by Rachel's past. What about Megan?
She's the most enigmatic character of the three, in my opinion.
I agree. We get these glimpses into her inner life, her struggles, but she remains a mystery.
It's almost like she's a blank canvas onto which the other characters project their own assumptions and fantasies.
Rachel sees her as this perfect woman with the perfect life, while Scott seems to view her as a possession, something to be controlled.
You hit the nail on the head. Megan's identity is largely defined by how others see her.
We don't really know who she is, which makes her disappearance even more intriguing.
And speaking of Scott, the excerpts featuring him were quite unsettling.
Oh yeah, he gives off some seriously creepy vibes.
Hawkins is brilliant at portraying that subtle manipulation, that controlling behavior.
It's not overtly abusive, but there's this underlying tension, this feeling that something is off.
Like a ticking time bomb.
I remember that passage where Rachel describes seeing Scott rushing out of a store with his coat pulled up over his face.
It's such a small detail, but it's so chilling.
It makes you question every interaction, every gesture.
And then there's the whole affair with her therapist, Kamal.
Right. Did we learn anything more about that relationship in the excerpts?
Not really. Kamal remains a bit of a mystery.
It's like a puzzle piece that's missing.
We know he's her therapist, and there are hints of a romantic connection, but Hawkins keeps it ambiguous.
It makes you wonder what role he plays in her life, and how does this all tie into her disappearance?
Those are the questions that keep us hooked.
One thing that really stood out to me is how Hawkins plays with the idea of perception.
Oh, absolutely. Each character sees the world through their own lens, their own biases and assumptions.
It's like we're looking at the same events through different colored glasses.
And that's what makes it so difficult to determine what's really true.
It's a constant game of trying to separate fact from fiction.
And that's what makes the girl on the train so brilliant.
Okay, so we've got these unreliable narrators and this web of secrets and lies. What happens next?
Well, the next set of excerpts takes us into the police investigation.
Finally, someone with a clear head who can maybe shed some light on all of this.
We're introduced to Detective Sergeant Riley, and she's about to shake things up.
I can't wait to hear what she uncovers. All right, so we've got Rachel battling her own memory, Anna living in fear, and Megan, well, she's vanished. And now we've got this new character, Detective Sergeant Riley.
Yeah, she's like a breath of fresh air in this whole crazy situation.
Someone who can hopefully make sense of it all.
She's coming at it from a completely objective standpoint.
Which is exactly what's needed, right?
Totally. But even with her clear head, she's got a tough job ahead of her.
I can imagine. With all these unreliable narrators.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
How does she even begin to unravel the truth?
Well, the excerpts really highlight the challenges she faces trying to figure out who's telling the truth and who's hiding something.
I bet she's pretty skeptical of everyone at this point.
Especially Rachel.
Oh, right, because she's become a person of interest.
Exactly. Thanks to Anna's accusations and the fact that Rachel can't account for her whereabouts on that night,
Poor Detective Riley.
Yeah.
It must be so frustrating trying to get a straight answer out of Rachel.
It's like trying to nail down a jellyfish.
Her blackouts and her tendency to fill in the blanks with their imagination must make it nearly impossible to get a clear picture of what happened.
Plus, there's that question of whether she's even aware of how much she's distorting reality.
Like, is she intentionally lying, or is she so lost in her own world that she genuinely believes her own version of events?
It makes you think about the nature of truth, right?
If someone believes their own lie, does it become truth to them?
It's a disturbing thought.
And poor Detective Riley has to deal with that while trying to solve this case.
She can't let emotions or assumptions cloud her judgment. She needs hard evidence.
Speaking of evidence, did the excerpts give us any clues that might point to what happened to Megan?
There are definitely clues scattered throughout, but Hawkins is a master at misdirection.
Ugh, so we're left in suspense.
The resolution is worth the wait. I promise.
You're not going to tell me that Rachel did it, are you?
Nope, not spoiling anything.
Okay, fine. But you have to admit, Hawkins has created a truly captivating story.
She's a brilliant writer.
Her ability to draw you into the minds of these characters is amazing.
Even when those minds are unreliable and messed up.
I found myself relating to Rachel's anxieties, even though I knew she wasn't the most trustworthy source.
That's the sign of a truly talented writer.
She doesn't shy away from the dark side of human nature.
She explores addiction, obsession, and the power of secrets.
But she does it with empathy, and that makes her characters feel real and relatable.
We see ourselves in their flaws and mistakes.
It's both unsettling and comforting at the same time.
We're all human after all.
This has been an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've just scratched the surface of The Girl on the Train.
There's so much more to discover.
I can't wait to read the whole book and experience all the twists and turns for myself.
I have a feeling you'll be hooked from the first page.
Oh, I have no doubt. And a huge thank you to you for guiding me through this intricate world.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all our listeners, if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell a friend. We'll be back soon with another must-read mystery. Until then, happy reading.